Let's start episode 3. Let's talk about Ford and GM recalls. There's a huge difference in recalls. Recalls can be either a very good thing or a very bad thing. Excessive recalls are annoying. A recall does mean you're going to the dealership and you're leaving your vehicle there. Now, if it's a big recall, like for example, an engine gets recalled, you might lose your vehicle for a really long period of time, like we saw with the 2014 Dodge Ram Eco Diesels. But a good recall, something that is preventative. And, unfortunately, the media looks at these things like, I'd say, in a very different light than I'd say what is, for me, reality. They look at a company coming out with a recall and they go, hey, look, they screwed up again. A recall is admitting that there's something wrong with your vehicle. Thinking that a recall means the company screwed up again, it's like thinking that companies don't regularly screw up. I should stop using this word. I'm not a fan of the word, but mix-ups, mistakes, parts that are, okay, but not great, or just, poor parts, happen all the time. Everywhere. It's not just in the automotive industry. I've had a pair of, super expensive high brand shoes when I was young. Took expensive shoes to be popular back then. Whatever. They fell apart on the 3rd week. So these things happen. You get a bad batch of glue, your sneaker falls apart, even if it was $300 back in the 1990s. So these things happen. And what's really horrible is when companies pretend like it's not an issue, because if they're not doing recalls, everyone's making mistakes. So a company that has no recalls is just making you live in misery. You're a pig in your own filth, and pigs actually like to be clean. So, but when it's hot, of course, they do like to cover themselves in mud. And that's where the misconception that they love being covered in their own filth. It's just they want to be cooled off and they don't want to get horrifically sunburnt. But yeah, generally pigs want to be clean, just like mice.
You always finish talking about animals in that show.
Mice and rats also have a reputation for just being these filthy creatures. They're actually very clean creatures. They like to be clean. So, and the expression dirty monkey, well, monkeys they have some pretty dirty habits, but they do spend most of the day grooming each other or grooming themselves. So let's check out let's check out what's going on over at GM. So GM has a lawsuit. Their lawsuit is based on their 8-speed transmission. And, this is the type of thing. This is not a recall, and this is really bad news. So you've got a lawsuit. It's hit class action status, meaning that all the plaintiffs can be pooled into one, work together to pay a really good legal team. Because what's been going on, it's affecting a lot of vehicles. So it's an 8-speed that is at GM, it's at Chevy, it's at Cadillac, and these are vehicles that were purchased after the March 1st 2019, and plaintiffs are claiming that the vehicles are prone to jerking, hesitation, surging, lurching while the vehicle is in operation. So, you start to take off and you think, oh, well, I'm in first gear, I'm at this speed, and you get kind of
a kick.
You get kicked and sped up and thrown forward, and that these issues actually it's alleged that these issues have existed since as early as 2013. Plaintiffs also say that GM has also worked to actively cover up the alleged problems and won't honor past warranty agreements. Basically, that's playing the game. What they're claiming, and I'll what they're claiming is you go to the service department. You say, look, my vehicle, it's got this surging problem. It just shoots forward on its own. I didn't add gas. It just shoots forward. Not safe. Also called lurching. It jerks. And, this transmission is crud. Do something about it. Please fix it. And what they're claiming is just basically that GM was like, no, the transmission's great. This didn't actually happen. Or leave the vehicle with us. We'll test it out. Come back in a few days. Oh, well, we didn't find anything. Nothing happened abnormal. Well, we had it. And the result is that, something that could have maybe been worked on under warranty in the past just gets ignored, so that, later on you pay for it out of your own pocket because the vehicle's no longer warranted. And then maybe then it's, oh yeah, you know what? You left us your vehicle now for 3 days now that you have 70 miles, 120 miles. And now, yes, we did detect something, and it is going to cost you a new transmission. It's going to require 20 hours of work, and this is going to be, an $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 job. So that's the type of, scenario that I'm trying to explain. That's the type of thing that it would look like between a customer and service at the dealer. Remember, the dealer might want to change your transmission, but if the manufacturer says no, nothing's wrong, claim not warranted, you're stuck with your vehicle that you're just not enjoying. That's really bad, and of course this is alleged. So if this is true, that's really bad. Well, as a guy that's had a lot of 10-speed transmissions at Ford, I can say I bet this very much is true. The 10-speed transmission at Ford was made GM and Ford together, and now they kind of build it up in their own factories. But the initial design, they worked on it together. And the thing is, when customers came to talk to Ford dealers about the vehicle, oddly, pretty much doing all the same issues, Ford went, oh, yeah, okay, well, we're going to spend time and money to try to make it better. And Ford's solution has been reprogramming the transmissions. Now, I saw this type of problem with 2018s and 19s mostly, and come 22, I can't think of any instances that I remember this occurring with, either with customers or my own products. 23, no. 22, no. 21, very few. 20, very few. It was mostly a problem in 18 or 19. 2018 and 2019, they reprogrammed them, and generally it pretty much always worked everything out. And that's a company saying, hey, you know what? Your experience isn't great. We're going to spend our money to make your experience better. The thing is, the media likes to treat this as, oh, look, Ford messed up again. Oh yeah, click on my article, because my article is titled, Ford screwed up, disaster at Ford, horrible Ford, Ford's going bankrupt, Ford won't exist in 1 year, 2 years, all that, Ford's going under, all those catchy clickbait headlines that don't actually give credit to a company that's functioning properly. Every company has issues. It's just, do you hide them or do you fix them? And it's unfortunate that when you fix them, you have to deal with media treating you like you've got the worst product on the market. And actually the 10-speed, and I would think GM generally is good at very good at making transmissions. I would think that their 8-speed probably will still be very reliable. I know for a fact the Ford 10-speed and also GM 10-speed is very reliable, but I know as an observed fact, and I've seen it on the computer screen, that the transmission, the 10-speeds in certain years did have a bit of, sometimes a little bit of a lurking forward or a bit of hesitation going into gear. And it really came down to sort of the brain behind the transmission. Sometimes under certain driving conditions, not quite being certain about what to do. You flash it, you reprogram it with a new program, and then it was hunky-dory. But media will treat it like, hey, look, company's going under, they messed up again. No one's perfect, and there's no product that's perfect either.
And it's better to have recalls than nothing, so it's more safer, it's always repaired.
How many Toyota engines have blown in my circle of friends? I blew a Celica engine. The Toyota I have now
we don't know how
had,
you drive.
I think, 3 engines blown, but I didn't blow any of them. But they've had 3 engines blown. Who knows? Maybe I'll blow the current one. If so, I'm throwing in a Honda motor. So that's what's been going on the channel here. So hence the bit of Toyota talk. But recalls, and Ford actually has, speaking of the 10-speed, Ford has had a recall because there's either how they worded it, either an extra bolt or a bolt that can become loose on the 10-speed transmission that can make it that the vehicle could, even when in park, roll forward or roll back. Folks, you should always use your handbrake. Whether or not you have a transmission that could be affected, always use your handbrake, because you want your transmission to not have extra, hardships, wear and tear. It's good to use your handbrake so that it's not just a little park. When you're in park, you've actually kind of got a bolt holding everything in place. The vehicles are really heavy, and you don't want the vehicle rolling. When you put a vehicle in park, if you don't use their handbrake, it rolls back and then it clicks on that bolt. Same thing with Ford, so you're better off always using when your foot's on the brake, turn on the handbrake, let it turn on, then turn off the car, let everything go. And actually that's a good practice when you're in a manual vehicle, because when you're in a manual vehicle, always have a manual Bronco, Mustang, have your clutch in and turn the car off, then let go of your clutch. Because sometimes people get all confused in the order. They're in first gear, they forget they're in first gear, and they go, okay, well, I'm done here, and they let go of the clutch. And what happens? The vehicle shoots forward into a wall.